Emerson talks about how the earth laughs and flowers, and it's such this beautiful imagery, and so we thought of Laughing Earth, Annie and I, together, and it was fitting, for us, because we like to really think about the fleeting nature of our experience on this farm. We don't own this land. It may own us, but it's going to go on long without us.
I like it that I named my farm for the fact that she wins in the end, and that we are all temporary residents here, and that in the end we'll all return to the earth, and so we should do our best to take care of it, since it will be taking care of us for as long as we're here, and after we're gone it will be recycling us.
I think the first big connection I felt to this farm we're on, Annie and I were in the process of buying the farm. We'd run into a huge hurdle, and it was going to be tough. And we started having kind of second thoughts, is this worth it, or can we even do it, and what are we going to do, and maybe we should back out of this. And we'd go for a walk, and there's a little road that goes around the farm, and we walk through the woods, and there's a little creek, and it's cool under there. This is in the middle of the summer, and there's a little breeze, and the creek is flowing through, and you take a deep breath of that forest air with the moisture in there. And we kind of looked at each other, and we were both thinking the same thing. We can do this. We're going to have to figure this out. This land is just so beautiful, and it's such a wonderful place. Like, we've got to make this work, because we don't want to see this become something else. And we found that there was something, the land here would just give us energy as opposed to just take our energy. It's such a difficult career, it's such a difficult field to like survive in and make enough money to have a family in, that farmers are really forced so often to just make really, really tough decisions that can make them farm maybe harder on their land than they would normally choose to do. Because of that, conservation pulls out a little bit of that element. It makes it a little bit easier for the farmer to afford to be there. And in some cases, it makes it a lot easier. We wouldn't have our farm if we didn't conserve it. So we're able to maybe just have a little more consideration for it.
On our farm, every year we're planting fewer and fewer tomato plants and eggplants, because we're still getting the same number, because the soil is so much happier, just because we're amending the soil with the specific minerals or nutrients that the soil actually needs, and feeding it so that it can feed us. It has made a very noticeable difference.
So I think whenever you're able to make better decisions as a farmer, there's a clear outcome at the farther end. Your ground starts to look better. Instead of dirt that you're farming in, you're farming in soil, and you start to see things grow a little bit better. You take your soil tests and you see that a lot of the really important nutrients for your vegetables are coming up and increasing. Your soil organic matter is getting higher.
I've learned from farming that it is possible for humans to build an ecosystem where humans are a part of it, not separate from it, but within it, and that we are still animals, and therefore we still need an ecosystem in which to live and to thrive, and that doesn't necessarily mean that other components of the ecosystem are suffering. It again drives home the point that what I'm doing is important from the perspective of growing food for my local community, keeping ground from having houses put on it, and learning to do things in a local way.
For most people in our country, in our world, do I have enough food to eat today is probably their biggest question. Do I have enough money to get through the day? Do I have enough to get through the week? Is my family going to be able to continue? And those are really big, tough questions to let yourself get away from. How could you possibly think about anything else? Well, I walk out at night because I heard one of my roosters crowing and I'm worried about what's happening. So I run out there and I happen to look up and I see the band of the Milky Way across the sky. And it's, for at least that moment, you can forget about all the turmoil in the world and just think about your connection to this bigger thing out there, and so much bigger than us. It's just huge.
I've had a few different people talk about how the farm feels more like a church than any church that they go to. How just being here on the land is that kind of spiritual feeling for them. A lot of times when I am alone in the pasture, I just feel I feel my insignificance as an individual, which is not as terrible a feeling as it might sound at the outset. It's more seeing yourself as a piece of the bigger whole, which I think is actually a good feeling, is a very positive feeling. That you can see yourself in the arc of time and feel that what you're doing is contributing to that. The decision that we made to have the farm conserved sort of helps me feel even more fit into that arc of time, where now I know that I won't be the last farmer to be stewarding this land. It makes it that much more important that I do a good job, because this farm isn't about to be turned into housing developments. That if I make a really healthy pasture now, then in 20 years, it'll be much easier for my successor to raise good food.